Joshua Setipa, born and bred in Lesotho, a public servant throughout the last 30 years. I have served the government of Lesotho, of course, as a politician, as a Minister of Trade and Industry. I have also had the opportunity to serve the World Trade Organization for 15 years. I've served the World Bank, I've served the UN. I was the first managing director of the UN Technology Bank based in Istanbul. And I was also a senior advisor at the Secretariat at the Commonwealth until January this year, when I took a leave of absence to present my candidature.
Why did you take that decision to contest this important position?
The Secretary General of the Commonwealth is a very important role. The Commonwealth itself is a very important organization to countries like Lesotho. In fact, to this region, if you go back in history, it was the Commonwealth that was at the forefront of fighting and bringing an end to the unilateral declaration of independence by Ian Smith in Rhodesia. That led to the multi-party elections that ushered in a new government led by President Mugabe. It was also the Commonwealth that was at the forefront in pushing and making a case for multi-party elections in South Africa. Chief Emeka, who was the Secretary General at that time, is the one who called everybody, President Mandela and everybody around the table, and said, let us have elections. So the Commonwealth has had a long history in the region. In Lesotho in particular, when Lesotho was experiencing a number of military takeovers, it was the Commonwealth that helped them get back on the path of democracy. So coming from Lesotho and aspiring to lead the Commonwealth for me is a natural thing to do. It is a way of showing, one, our continued commitment to the Commonwealth, but also to say that it does not matter whether you come from a big country like South Africa or Canada or India, you can aspire to lead the Commonwealth. I understand the Commonwealth because all my career I've worked with the Commonwealth, whether as a representative of my country, representing the World Trade Organization, representing the United Nations. So I have a very deep understanding of the Commonwealth, and I believe I can bring a substantive contribution to continuing to ensure that the Commonwealth remains relevant.
All right, let's explore this further now. SABC News International Editor Sophie Mokoena is joining us live now. Sophie, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Let's first start with the process of electing the Secretary General.
Well, it's a rotational process on rotational basis. So you look at member states from different regions. Right now you have the Caribbeans. The current chair, Scotland, or the Secretary General is from the Caribbean nations. And therefore now it is the turn for Africa. And therefore that is why you have the Joshua saying that he has availed himself to be considered as the Secretary General of the Commonwealth. As you know, that CHOGM is starting on Monday, and on Friday, towards the end of CHOGM, they are going to elect a new secretary.
And of course, while you were speaking to Setipa there are other candidates in the running. Mamadou Tangara of the Gambia, Shirley Botchway from Ghana. Let's talk about these candidates as well.
Well, I think, yes, indeed, this speaks to the continent again. Failure to read the mood and come up with one candidate to avoid the divisions. And therefore, West Africa, because when you look at Ghana and Gambia, they are both from West, and therefore they've presented the candidates. And therefore, SADC is united in arguing that, no, it is the turn of other regions in Africa. For example, West Africa had its opportunity to present a candidate, and he was supported, he was elected, Chief Emeka Anyaoku from Nigeria, who led the Commonwealth from 1989, was re-elected in 1993. He came to South Africa many times. Even when South Africa was hosting the Commonwealth, he was still the Secretary General of the Commonwealth. And South Africa supported him. And at that time, you'd recall it was just before 10 years of democracy, but he got that support. Now, the SADC region, the Lesotho, and other countries are saying, no, this time around, please support our candidate from the SADC region. So we have a number of countries in East Africa who have made a commitment to support him when elections get underway on Friday. You have a country like Uganda, member of the Commonwealth, Rwanda, much as it wasn't before a member of Commonwealth, now a member of Commonwealth, saying they support the SADC candidate. But you have a problem with Kenya. The president of Kenya visited Uganda recently, and when he was in Uganda, much as he had given assurance that he was going to support the SADC candidate, then endorsed the candidate of Commonwealth from that country, Ghana. Now it is going to cause a problem, because remember, Kenya has put forward a candidate for the Commission chairperson of the AU. Now the SADC countries are saying, you say we must support you to get the position of the AU Commission, who is Raila Odinga. Now you don't support us with the Commonwealth candidate. And therefore, that's what I'm talking about when I talk about the divisions that are likely going to play themselves there at the Commonwealth conference in Samoa later next week, when the elections are held.
And of course, you know, these divisions are, as you say, and really explained to us, are quite huge and can have a significant impact on what happens going forward. But there's another story that is developing this afternoon, and that's the passing of the former Labour Minister, Membathisi Mdladla. And of course, he was not only Labour Minister, as he's known, but also served as ambassador, for example, in Burundi, and High Commissioner to Canada. I'm going to borrow just briefly from what President Cyril Ramaphosa says. He says that Membathisi Mdladla's passing is a loss to his family and friends as much as it is to the nation. While we may try to prepare ourselves for the inevitability of such a loss, bereavement is never easy, and we've recently been visited by a succession of departures of veterans of our liberation struggle and pioneers of the dawn of our democracy. That's the president.
Well, this comes at a critical time, because the president is supposed to go to Russia for the BRICS summit. And now you get this news. Of course, he will be in Limpopo for the funeral of the former Reserve Bank Governor Tito Mboweni. He's still in the country. And while they're still grappling with this, now this news. And these, when you look at Tito Mboweni, he's the former Minister of Labour. And you're talking about Mdladla, who was the former Minister of Labour. And they worked together, you know, a transition from Mandela to Mbeki. These are people who were in that league or that generation that came and brought all the policies that we see, including the labor policies that Mboweni started, and he continued. And Mdladla was loved. He was a very humble person, a charismatic person, even to journalists. And when he was in Canada, I remember he used to call me to give me update in terms of the work that they were doing there. And he was also very, very active on social media, on Twitter at that time. So him and Tito Mboweni almost seem having similarities in terms of being humble people, humble leaders, working almost in the same sector, and also very, very committed. When you talk about the ANC cadres who were disciplined, who were not corrupt, who were not engulfed in, you know, lots of negative stories, the tension around them was always about policy, not about enriching themselves or behaving in a particular manner. So you get it that President Ramaphosa is aggrieved, because he needs these people at this moment where the ANC is going through difficult times. As Mbeki has pointed out, the former president, that Tito would have contributed, because the ANC right now, there are issues around the government of national unity. You needed these people who don't have vast interest of being in government to advise the ANC how to move forward and be united, because there are those who support government of national unity, and there are those who say we should have opted for a minority government. So you need these people who were not in government, who were not contesting positions, who were not looking forward to 2027 to contest the ANC positions. As you know, the ANC will be going to their conference, and therefore, unfortunately, this generation, it looks like it is time for this generation to fade away, much as you still have many of them.
And of course, it's no surprise that even the president's statement is speaking a great deal about his leadership, about the sacrifices, about his contribution, even as, you know, a member of parliament in 1994. So certainly quite a man in a, you know, a very, very high caliber, and will continue, you know, to reflect on the story, even as our colleague Lula Mamatya is outside his home there. Sophie, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. That was SABC News International editor Sophie Mokoena.